Now I can be happy. Just seeing your faces. I've missed you so.
We're still alive.
Yes. That's great, isn't it?
Yes.
It's true.
See your faces. I'm putting a sock on. And I have to tell you, I haven't taken a shower for 3 days because I've been watching election results. And so I ran to take a shower because I didn't want you to see me unfresh. So that's why I'm putting my socks on.
CNBC.
Well, on that note, we are so excited to get started. Thank you all so much for being here today. This is also being shared live on Facebook, so you can review it afterwards as well. But we would like to welcome you on behalf of the World Affairs Council of Kentucky and Southern Indiana. World Affairs Council of Kentucky acts as a regional hub of dialogue, exchange, and learning. And we are so excited to welcome back the alumni of our 2016 World Learning Program and their fantastic coordinators, Danny Burns and Meg as well. So just to give you a bit of Danny's background, so Danny Burns has worked with youth from all over the world, from Azerbaijan to Brazil, from Belarus to Turkey. And he's focused on peace building and press freedom, as well as social and emotional learning here in the US. He is currently working for the YMCA with remote learning students in Ohio during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we request, I'm sure many of the audience members will have questions for you all throughout the chat. If you could just comment those questions and we will read them from the chat at the end of the program. And now I will turn it over to Danny so that he can introduce the student guests that we have with us today.
Hello. So as we start off, we have Paulina and Timur from Belarus, and Meg has been working in Virginia, and she was there when we started our program it's actually for social entrepreneurship. So about 30 Belarusians came over to the US to do about a month-long program, 30 days in the US, and we went from Virginia, the University of Virginia, to a couple of different cities where my group went over to Louisville, Kentucky, and we spent time with World Affairs Council of Kentucky, and then afterwards we finished up in Washington, D.C. All the time we were talking about U.S. politics, global politics, and also focusing on social entrepreneurship, making sure that our participants were giving back to the communities where they were from when they get back to their houses. We also had 10 American youth along with us to make sure that our participants from other countries got to experience a little bit of what it's like to be an American teenager, and for those American teenagers to get a little bit more immersion into a different culture as well. So that was our program, and it was in 2016, I believe, right?
Yes, 2016.
And so with that, I wanted to start off, and I'm going to ask Paulina to give us a little bit of background on the context of what's going on with student activism and the protests and the political upheaval in Belarus right now.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm so happy to be here. I will try to express the opinion of, I think, majority of young people all over the Belarus. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them right now because I'm not home, but so I think that the uniqueness of peaceful protests that we can see right now in Minsk and in every single even small or big city all over the Belarus, just the desire of young people to get rid of this social Soviet Union mindset that was unfortunately stuck with us for a long time already. So because of the main concept of the Belarusian management, that all the results are actually not the real one, they just those who will be like pleasant to see for the leader. We experience this kind of enormous dishonesty between the government and the people. The latest example is the COVID situation. We see that the results for the whole country are only like 900 cases a day, when in the real life, I'm sure they're much bigger. And the same with the elections. We see the official results who support President Lukashenko 80%, when in reality, I think that not more than 3, or it's like a joke nowadays that no more than 3% of people support him. So I think that the main feature of the background is just the fear to stop lying, because it's much easier to talk to a person who agrees with you rather than try to build a conversation and a relationship with a person who disagrees with you. So yeah, that's the thing that I wanted to mention on this question. Danny, you are muted.
Thank you very much, Paulina. So I just wanted to focus on a couple of things just for you guys' background, for you to help understand a little bit better. Lukashenko had an election in April, and in that election, there were supposed to be, what?
In August, 9th of August. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, in August, and during that election, there was supposed to be 3 opposition candidates, and I would like one of the people here to talk a little bit about those 3 candidates and where they are now, and who ended up actually being the opposition candidate in the final election. I'm going to raise your hand and go for that one. Toma?
Whole situation with the opposition this year. I would not lie if I say that we didn't have quite a strong opposition that appealed to many people, to the majority of people during the previous years. But this year, we had a very interesting choice. We didn't have a choice, but anyway, the first candidate was a banker. He is a former banker, and right now he's in prison. The second candidate, Valery Tsepkalo, was the inventor of and the founder of the biggest IT hub in Belarus. Now he fled the country and is currently being searched for by the police here and in Russia, I guess. And the third candidate, Sergei Tikhanovsky, he was a blogger and he went around the country. He asked people for their opinion on what did they think about their lives, what did they think about the policy of the local authorities. And obviously, the honest answers that he provided didn't appeal to the officials. So when those 3 people expressed their desire to become the candidates and to run for the position of the president of the Republic of Belarus, they were very quickly dealt with. Some of them were imprisoned for not paying taxes. Others were imprisoned for forgery, and Sergei Tikhanovsky was taken from the place where he collected the signatures. So to become the candidate, you have to get a particular number of signatures from the ordinary people, so that to show that they approve of you. So he was taken to prison, and later on, we found out that he is the suspect of one of the criminal cases, again, very clearly falsified very clearly. The allegations were not true, but still he is behind bars up until today. When this all happened, his wife, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, decided that she wanted to continue the dream of her husband, and she became the candidate from the opposition. I don't know what happened or why they decided to register her while all of the other candidates were just like said, no, you didn't get the right amount of signatures, you didn't get that, you didn't get that. But Svetlana Tikhanovskaya was registered and she officially became the candidate from the opposition. The women who joined her were Veronika Tsepkalo, who was the wife of Valery Tsepkalo, the founder of this IT hub, and Maria Kolesnikova, the head, I guess, of the former banker's electoral campaign, forgive me my English. And those three women became the mockingjays of Belarusian revolution. And they started going around the country because they actually had the right to do it. Svetlana Tikhanovskaya was an official candidate for president. She had to send her children abroad because, as well as another woman, Veronika Tsepkalo, because the people from the government started going to the kindergarten, started threatening the kids, and they were really afraid of the authorities taking their parental rights. With this anger building up and the injustice, they went up until the election day when this whole shenanigan happened. Yeah, that's basically the information on the three main candidates, Viktor Babarika, Valery Tsepkalo, and Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, who at the end was the only registered candidate from the opposition. Others were just, how to say that in English? They were told to register by people there just to create the picture of competition.
So a false opposition or a fake opposition that just is there as a show. I wanted to get a question about who makes up the protests and when the protests take place. But before I do so, I was wondering if you guys could just raise your hand if you're comfortable with this, or let me know. I'm gonna have a couple of little questions. Have any of you known someone who has been arrested? Just if you've known someone who has been arrested during the protests. And then have any of you, so all of the Belarusian youth raise their hand in case you guys don't have the grid up to see everybody. Have any of you been arrested personally if you've had the chance or the opportunity to get down to the protests? Raise your hand if you've been arrested personally.
Not yet.
Thank goodness. All right, that's good. And then I was wondering if you guys could give me a little bit of background on when the protests take place, when was the first one, and what was the original makeup of the protests, and what have they become now? Maybe you want to take that one? Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, I can tell a bit about it. So I guess it originally started in the day of election. A lot of people were gathering around schools where people voted because they wanted to see the results in these schools. However, in many cases, I guess in the majority of cases, police came and took the results from school without showing them to public. There were some cases where Svetlana Tikhanovskaya won by the majority of votes in the particular school, However, some days later, people told the school that they need to basically recount the votes to see if they were correct. And after that, the results were changed. So I think that like the majority of people were located in some schools, and then some of the people went to the Площадь Независимости in our country. It's near the center of the city. And after that, protests continue on the next day, on the day after that. It wasn't really centralized in first. For example, I guess the most frightening examples of police brutality happened on the Pushkinskaya, where a person was injured to death by the police, and people were gathering there, blocking streets. I guess I'm safe to say that I was present during these protests in these places, and I can be sure in saying that none of the protesters shown, at least none of whom I've seen, any signs of aggression or, I don't know, bad intentions towards the police. However, they were still using rubber bullets and flash grenades towards the protesters. So the police brutality continued for about a week. We lived without the internet whatsoever because our government blocked it in order to not give us any way of knowing where people are gathering and what's going on. After that, internet came back, and for some time, police kind of calmed down a bit, I would say. For some time in August, people were gathering, and in some examples of protests, there were even no people who were arrested. But afterwards, it all came back, and right now they're even raising the stakes. So, for example, they are making fines bigger for gathering in public places. And some people were even given the, how do I say this? The punishment by being arrested, like in prison. So yeah, basically like this. I hope I answered this question.
Thank you very much. So I have two questions that I wanted to get to around the same time. What was it exactly about this election that was different, that made there be such a backlash afterwards, as opposed to other elections in the past that may have been fraudulent or may have had election tampering in some way or another? And with that, how are you feeling nowadays with the protests? Are you optimistic or more pessimistic about what's going on? Do you have hope for democracy in general in your country, and what's going to happen next? The big question. Go ahead, Toma.
I'm going to just briefly say the reasons for such a blow up of people, and then maybe about
I guess I can answer this. My name is Margot, by the way. So our president was in his place for 26 years already. And before this election, it is important to say that many years ago, people were still protesting. Almost each year, they were protesting against his illegal taking of the power in the country. But what is so special about this year is that maybe the feeling of the whole nation that their voices have been stolen during the election, and adding to this, it is important also to take into the consideration the situation with coronavirus, because in our country, our president was ignorant to the situation with coronavirus and was completely rejecting any harm that it can do to people. He was making his jokes regarding this virus, and people in Belarus were forced to organize themselves, and maybe this feeling that at first their voices were stolen, this continuous ignorance from the higher structures of our state, this continuous pressure on the people, and all of this just like gathering into this whole national feeling of no longer being able to tolerate such lawlessness in the country. I suppose that each and every person in the country understands that this election was a complete fake. There were so many cases in these legal institutions where votes were gathered of violating of Belarusian rules, and it's just the initial feeling in the heart that we can no longer live in this situation when police believe that they are the highest institution in the country and that they can beat people on the streets, when people are being made jokes of, or our president mentioned that all of the people who are participating in those meetings are taking drugs, prostitutes, and has been criminalizing the picture of protester, and people has just decided that it's enough, that we want our power, that we want our country to prosper, and that we want to take control in our hands because our president can no longer do that. I hope I answered the question.
So then I guess I kind of want to hear from all of you about how you feel about things going forward, and if you're optimistic or a little more pessimistic about the possibility of change and greater democracy. So let's go with Toma, and then Eclair, and then Marie, and then Margot, and then Tim, and then Paulina. A short little.
Okay, my mood varies from day to day, from we're going to win to we're going to be imprisoned, shot, whatever. The situation changes every day, and every day new people who inspire others here, as well as new cases of unlawlessness and absurdity happen from the official side. So currently, in this very moment, I believe in the victory of peaceful Belarusian protests, but tomorrow I will say that I'm no longer a believer, and we're all gonna die, and it's going to end soon, and we're going to be expelled, killed, imprisoned, and just stop being a nation, because there is always Russia on the right, which is like, okay, guys, are you going to protest, or are you willing to join us? And yeah, it just varies every day.
Okay, I guess I was very pessimistic in the beginning. because I didn't see, like, after the internet came back and I saw everything that was going on, and what is more, I saw what people, what police and Lukashenko continue doing after that. I was thinking that, well, unfortunately, I guess that didn't make a change. Like, all this protest probably, like, it's good that we tried, but this was probably for nothing. But now 3 months has passed, and I'm really proud that people are still going on streets, that they're still gathering, and they're still being so peaceful and so united with this, like, one goal. Everyone knows what's going on. No matter who I talk to, I always know that we may differ in the ways that we want to change the situation, but everyone thinks the situation needs to be changed. So I do understand that this may take some time, maybe even months or years, but I am very optimistic that when the situation is going to change, it's going to be changed to the better. So, yes.
Margo?
I'm basically totally agreeing with this uncertainness. Like, we cannot give this, like, final statement whether it's going to go for the better or for the worse, because, like, we can all feel that the whole nation is standing up to fight for their rights, but at the same time, we can still see that Lukashenko is in his, unwillingness to give the power away, and he's trying his best to gather his old forces to continue his legal like position. And I was also thinking that one of the possible outcomes is that he will probably soon run out of money, because we all know that he's been taking credits from Russia a couple of weeks ago. And, like, we can see now that there are changes in the upcoming constitution that are decreasing state budget on some social perks. I also can see my friends being arrested, and it's kind of depressing, and makes me feel anxious about the future, because, like, when you see this in the news, you can judge unemotionally, but when it happens to you, when it happens to your friends, it's something that it is so hard to estimate. So I would probably say that it is probably going for the better, but no one can say how much time will it take. Maybe we would still be waiting for the next elections to come for something to change.
Tim, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in advance sorry for my English because I'm not having enough practice of it, but still. It's hard to say exactly how much time it will take. Like, now I'm watching many programs, political programs about the situation in Belarus, and many experts say that it will take probably several years, because now the main supporter of Lukashenko is Putin, definitely. Once he will not have him as his brother, as he likes to call him when he needs money, then I think the situation will be over soon. But once Putin is given money, I think the situation will still be, like, the protests will be, but the situation will not be changed definitely. And like now, I am studying at the Academy of Public Administration under the aegis of the President of Belarus. And once many people in Belarus hear this, they are afraid to talk with these students because they think that we like the president, we kiss his portraits every morning, we sing the anthems, we don't have much brains. But of course, it's not true. We just have many opinions, and in many institutions, government institutions, there are enough clever people who understand what is going on, but just people are afraid to be caught, to be put into prison.
Paulina?
I think I want to conclude our hopes with the wonderful quote of Martin Luther King, who said, "I refuse to accept the view that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality." So I think all of us really fighting for this brotherhood that we really want to make a reality. And you know, the hardest part of every success is this work in progress. So I think people who still believe in the principles of democracy, diplomacy, unity, communication, science, knowledge, intelligence will always be able to understand what it is right and what it is wrong. And I hope that with the help of many, many people around the world, with the strength of Belarusian people in the country and outside the country, we will be able to see this positive outcome from the protests, from the small gatherings in everybody's yards, and from every little step that eventually will lead to a brighter future.
I would like to thank you for that. The mention of Martin Luther King hit a twinge for us because at the end of our program in DC, all of the students, all the participants got to give a little speech that was their dream speech on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. So I think that was a beautiful little homage. So with that, we don't have a lot of time before we're starting to ask the questions from the audience. I would like to ask you, what is it that you would like for the rest of the world to know, and how else would you like the rest of the world to engage in Belarus right now? And what are your hopes for international involvement, or if you would rather have it fixed inside the country, or how would you like to do that? And I'd rather just one person, just because it's gonna take too long to have everybody's opinions. So, Paulina, you want to go ahead?
I think I will just give an example of Armenia and Azerbaijan, and I think that the principles of United Nations, and I really hope that United Nations will not only declare the words, but also will be involved into the situation that are happening with Belarus and the Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict, because I do really believe that this enormous world organization needs to be involved in this local conflicts, because we are in the age where a lot of opinions are needed to be heard. That is why I believe that the representatives of different point of views are definitely the key factor to find the one perfect solution for the problem. That is why I really hope that enormous world organization will help us take actions.
Is there anything we could do as Americans that would be helpful? Any action that we could specifically take I know early on in the protests, I was donating and trying to help people in America know and to donate to it was a human rights defenders campaign. So there's other ways to do things or anything else you want to mention, just let us know. Margot?
Basically, I've been seeing in many news that people all over the world unite to support Belarusians. And it is very true, like to feel that all people support us. I know local communities of Belarusians living abroad do support us. And I know that there are many funds organized by those communities and by people in Belarus who are striving to get some help if they're, for example, were fired because of their civil position, or some people were injured during the protests and they need some help because they cannot afford it. Some people are striking and are not being paid for a couple of months. So for the rest of the world, I would just remind that there are many funds that you can donate to, and so that people in Belarus can be supporting democracy and can be not hiding their voices anymore, just to have enough resources to do that. So please, if you will find any fund that you can click to and just support Belarusians, do that if you can.
Sorry about that. Toma, you also wanted to say something?
Just to add to the whole world support thingy, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya is out of the country right now. She was deported a couple of days after the election. She was invited into our vote counting agency, which is governmental, of course, and she was taken from there and she was put outside of the country as though it's okay to, like, you know, deport your own citizens, usual Belarusian things. And right now she is doing the most she can for us here. She's meeting with the rulers of European countries. She has spoken at the European Parliament Assembly, as far as I remember. She brought up all of the issues she showed the pictures of people being beaten up in blue just because of the riot police smashing their faces, destroying their organs and stuff like that. So that's what the support from their side looks like. What concerns the USA and the Americans, I'm going to say one very controversial thing, but after the election took place and after we got the internet, because we didn't have it for 3 days, it was completely cut off all around the country. Everybody was just like, what is happening? We were just orally distributing the news that we saw ourselves. So when I opened TikTok, I saw the videos of American teenagers showing the videos from the protests from Belarus and saying this would happen if one particular candidate is going to win. So as I perceived it, it was the situation in Belarus was put as a joke. It was not taken really seriously, maybe because we are from Eastern Europe. I don't know what was the reason, but it was something that kind of, you know, tickled something inside of me. I guess the main thing that every foreigner should do or can do if they have time and energy is to spread the word, spread the information. Just tell people around you that there is this little country in the center of Europe that nobody have ever heard of, but it's called Belarus, and the people there are fighting for their constitutional rights and for the common sense sometimes. So yeah, the informatization of others, bringing up Belarus as an example in conversations with your friends can also work. So that would probably be my request from Belarusians to the foreigners.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is pretty famous around the world about Belarus is that a lot of people call it the last dictatorship in Europe. So I think it'd be great to finally end the last dictatorship in Europe, although
Absolutely.
It's not the last dictatorship in Europe, but it's one of the last. I think Claire wanted to say something, and I think we only have one question in the Q&A so far. So is it okay if I delay a little bit? Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, I was just basically going to agree with Toma because I feel like it's okay if you have some controversial opinions about Belarus because living in different country may affect on what news you're getting and what things you believe. So I would just say that it's the best if you spread the word, if you just talk about this situation with other people, so it won't be forgotten, and it probably, if like the whole news about what's going on here will live on, maybe something like this will not happen again, and like in best case scenario. So yeah, just that.
So also, do you want to ask the question from the audience, or do you want me to do that, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead and ask the audience questions so far. And I just wanted to thank all of the student participants for your really thorough and thoughtful answers thus far. It's been fascinating to hear your perspectives. So our first question from the chat is, are you watching the presidential elections happening in the US? And what are your thoughts about what is happening? And I think this sort of goes back to what Toma was saying too. Who do Belarusians want most to win? Oh, and then, yes, let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Yes, okay. All right, yeah, so I'll let you guys popcorn, I guess. Is there anyone who really wants to address that question?
Me.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
Because of the fact that I'm currently in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm studying here, I fell asleep yesterday with a turned on TV, CNBC News, that I'm just online all day, all night. I do really afraid, personally, like my opinion, but I'm not a citizen, but I really want Biden to win because I was experiencing a lot of frustration in July when President Trump established the rule that F1 student needed to leave the country. And it was the middle of pandemic and the flights were canceled and I couldn't just find a way to go home, but I just needed to leave the country by the rule. But like, you know, like you have a thing and you find the way, you need to find the way to get out of this problem, but there is no way to get out of this problem. And I was like alone in the foreign country, don't know what to do, I have no rights, and so on and so forth. So I am afraid that the legal immigration will be very, very hard for people who are studying here, who are, I'm personally involved in the American community. I volunteer here in the program and I still volunteer here as the college student, and I'm engaging with the American people. I'm trying to help the community that I live in today. That is why I do really believe that President Trump is not the person who will support passionate young people, young professionals who really want to get a chance to bring something not only to America, but to the whole world with the help of American enormous resources. That is why, yeah, I'm hoping that Nevada will get more Biden votes, and yeah, I think just America can be America's representation of intelligence, and I do really believe that Biden and his policies are something that this country is in desperate need.
Thank you so much. And then I think that Tim had his hand up, and then Toma.
Yeah, I just remember our program, and in 2016 there was also elections. And once being in the University of Virginia, I asked Professor Sabato, if I'm not mistaken, who's going to win the elections, Trump or Hillary Clinton that time? And he answered that Trump probably has no chances, that Clinton is going to win. But I argued and I said that probably sometimes people want to see something or somebody new. So probably I'm betting that Trump is going to win. So in 2016, we got Trump. Concerning this year's elections, I was thinking that Biden is going to win, because almost all the Americans that I've seen, they were saying, okay, we're tired of Trump, we want Biden. But now I watched some reports, and probably Russia wants Trump as a president of the United States, and many people now, not many, but some people now who has kind of authority in Russia and Belarus, I watched some programs, they say that probably Trump is going to get the second 4 years in a row.
I'm going to remind Professor Sabato of that, Timur. He will remember. He will absolutely remember.
Okay, thank you.
I just was listening on the radio this morning, and I heard somebody from the Sabato Institute, Sabato Crystal Ball group, organization. What is it called?
The Crystal Ball at the Center for Politics. Yeah, remember that? We had fun.
And now we'll go to Toma for the last response for this question.
Yeah, thank you. I don't want to impose my opinion on anyone, because I truly believe that when it comes to the elections, nobody from the outside should be projecting their views, because they don't know how it is to live in a country and to choose the leader for the next couple of years. But speaking very officially and speaking from the facts, Biden, I think he specifically mentioned and he addressed the issue in Belarus in public. He said that he is going to work closely with the European Union on the sanctions concerning the Belarusian officials, and working closely with the European Union to peacefully resolve the political conflict in Belarus. It was the quote was something like that. So I guess when Belarusians heard this, it was stuck in their heads, and now the majority, I think, the majority of people who actually care about elections in other countries, they prefer Biden over Trump.
Yeah, and add to Toma, I think he gave a speech just after the election. So when this news wasn't so spread, so I think it happened like a day or 2 days after the elections in Minsk, in Belarus. So yeah, and I saw that post, and it made me feel the warmth in my heart, because I understood that the leader of a very powerful country really cares about what is happening with the absence of democracy in the center of Europe. So yeah, it's also touched me.
It looks like we have 2 more questions. So for these two, since we only have about 10 minutes left, if we could go ahead and just limit it to like 1 or 2 responses per question. So the first we have is, what from your time in the US has most stuck with you in the years since you returned? And yes, so she wanted to acknowledge this question comes from Michelle, who was another leader on the summer program with Danny. So Michelle says hello and sends her regards to all of you. who would like to tackle this question if we have a couple of individuals? Okay, perfect. Claire? Awesome.
Okay, I really try to be short on this one because I can talk about this program for a long time. But I have a couple of memories, like I guess the ones that inspired me the most during the program. The first one was when we traveled to the park and went up on the mountain through the forest. I think that was the first time in my whole life when I saw a deer and in a wild nature. And to know, I was very scared going there because I wasn't sure about like the level of my English. I wasn't sure if I can give enough to this program so that I would be, I don't know, valuable during it. But I guess that was the moment when I was standing there and looking down from, I don't know if it's, I guess it's more of a hill than a mountain, but still, yeah. And I was inspired by all this nature, and I felt so calm during it and so relaxed. Thank you. Yes, and two more things. I remember one thing with Danny when I was late from the shop. And I think that was one of the small times, one of the few times when I saw Danny a bit disappointed, I guess, because I was late for like, I guess, 5-10 minutes from the shop. And I was like trying to say sorry, and that I was just stuck in the wake to the just to pay for myself. But I remember that he was driving me, I guess, back home, I think. And I would talk, first of all, about like being late and kind of like a teaching moment that I really liked, and I remembered it. And after that, we talked a bit about Doctor Who and stuff and some geek things, and that was very, very nice. And the last thing is the book that like was a gift from you, that from like the book that was called All He Did Was Ask, about like interviews that were taken from the guy that works on the radio, that he asked questions to different people. And remember, I'm really sure Michelle gave me this book, and she said that she's like, it's the present that she wanted to give me, that because the majority of times that she talked to me, all I did was ask questions to her about like all the things that was going on in the USA. So yeah, I think these three things like the main ones.
Thank you so much. And just in the interest of time, it looks like we got a last minute submission as well. So there are two more questions, but we have enough time to stay on until like 1:10 or 1:15. So if you guys do have that time to stay after, we would love to answer all the questions, but I completely understand and respect your all's time if you have to log off. But the next question, first, I was just informed that Michelle was actually elected to public office recently. So sending much congratulations to Michelle. And then this dovetails perfectly into our second to last question. Penultimate question is, would any of you consider running for public office or some kind of leadership position? This can be local or national in Belarus, and why or why not? And this question was submitted anonymously. Is there anyone who wants to tackle this? Okay, Toma.
I will start with a very general thing. Politics in Belarus is not a safe place. It's very dangerous, and we've seen numerous examples throughout this 26 years of Lukashenko's ruling, that people who really have the ambition, that people who really want to bring something into the society, they are pushed back, they are silenced in many ways, just so as not to allow this little drop of freedom, drop of free will into the system of oppression and dictatorship. As for me, I wouldn't, and for my friends, I wouldn't say that anyone is willing to take part in the circus that Lukashenko has now started with. He said that I'm not going to leave, but I'm going to give you a new constitution. Please don't protest because I am a good leader. I am a good guy who just like happened to falsify the elections, but come on. So I guess right now the act of entering this the act of entering this governmental structure in any way will be perceived and is going to become the way of supporting the government, the way of participating in this fake picture that they are trying to create. So I would really love to bring something into my local community, because I live not in the city, but on the outskirts. I try my best at taking part in non-governmental initiatives right now and in these previous years, but I wouldn't say that it's possible and it will be effective to become a part of the structure which is basically ruled by one particular person.
Thank you so much. And our final question today was also submitted anonymously. So, do you feel any connection to similar protest movements that are occurring in Thailand, Nigeria, or currently in the US? And just something I would like to add, this is one of the questions that I had. With so many social causes that have come to the forefront during 2020 in the US, do you have any advice to other young activists across the world? Anybody want to tackle this? Okay, yeah, Toma.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when coming back from my work tonight, and maybe the advice that would be to all of the young people, if I may to reach their hearts and minds, is to get involved as soon as possible. Like this year has shown that many people in their 30s, in their 40s, it was the first year that they actually went to the polling station and they voted. Nobody believed that the changes are possible. Nobody believed that the life can become better and we are going to feel much more free than we used to. So for anyone who by any reason decides to stay silent, decides that's not mine, and somebody's going to change that for me, the advice would be to make yourself and to make people around you involved as soon as possible.
That is excellent. Well, it looks like we're finished right on time. Thank you again for your participation. We were so grateful to host you here in Kentucky 4 years ago, and really grateful to catch up with you now. I wanted to remind everyone tuning in today that there are some additional resources in the chat that Danny put in, and that you all should follow us on our social platforms and on our website to learn more about upcoming events like this one. And yeah, absolutely. And with that, we will conclude. So thank you once again to Danny and all Meg and the wonderful students for your commentary. Have an excellent day. Thank you so much.
Bye. Goodbye.
It was so good to see you all again. I've missed you very much. I think of you all.
Thank you.
And I posted all the stories about Belarus on our global Facebook page and let everybody know, and talked about you at every meeting that we had.
Thank you. Thank you.
I keep the story alive at down here at UVA. So don't you worry. And you're always welcome. So Paulina, if you ever get to Virginia, you know where I live, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
We miss you too. We miss you too.
I miss you very much.
Can I add something?
What? Yes, you can say.
Yeah, I just want to add to Toma, just concerning what can we say, like what can we recommend? Just don't repeat the mistakes of Belarusian people, because we are not perfect, of course.
No one
and
is.
concerning kind of ignoring the elections, not taking part in the political life of the country. Just, I think American people, it's hard to understand that sometimes president can be for 26 years, not for 8 years. Just appreciate this opportunity and also just fight for your right, for your freedom, for your votes, for everything that you want to share with the society. And then probably we'll be living in the perfect world where will be no wars, no conflicts, and we will be traveling all around the world and just enjoying our life.
Don't give up.
Yellow submarine. Yellow submarine.
You guys are really brave. I really admire you. I really do. And I'm really humbled that I got to work with you. I mean, still, I think of you all the time. Every time I read about something, you all flash in front of my face. So I think about you. Don't think I've forgotten.
I think YLP is the program and the event in my life that had shaped me into the person I am. If it was not for you guys, I wouldn't be in the place of being a social activist. I wouldn't be able to speak English at all.
Well, your English is fabulous.
I was just...
We had a good time. And that's my favorite.
Exactly.
Because I think we had enough time to really develop the concepts and really get to know each other. And we were unrushed in that. So always when I look back, that is a program that I pull my book out the most, because I feel like when I look at my notes, I really see that I got to do everything that I wanted to do with your group. And that rarely ever happens with a program that I get to work. They're always, oh, let's take 2 days out here. Let's take a day out here. And that one was one where I got to have all the days I wanted.
Actually, yesterday when I saw this, the competition of red and blue, I immediately remembered this song that you turned on for Democrats and Republicans.
The parties rap.
Yeah. So, this is the first thing that came. Yes.
I got to use all my tricks on that program, Danny. I remember you, Danny, wearing when we gave out the cape every day. Somebody got a cape. You had a lot of tricks. It was fun. And we wrote on the you got to put your message out there with chalk. You got to write with chalk on the ground.
I don't think I mentioned the program is from World Learning, so I just wanted to thank World Learning for out loud. It's a good program.
Thank you, World Learning. Yeah.
YLP was amazing.
It was great.
I remember you guys every day. Think about it all the time. Think about your guys' situation in Belarus and my time in Azerbaijan, and how amazing it is that you guys are actually standing up and fighting what you have there. And it's such a difficult thing to do. And as much as I encourage people to do it, it's so hard for me to do, because you're also risking yourselves, and that's so difficult. I always want to tell my friends in Azerbaijan to do the same thing, and then it's like, but you could literally get hurt. And I get very emotional about that, and you guys are in my thoughts all the time.
Yes, I think of you always fondly, but you're in my prayers at night. You're in my thoughts and prayers when I go to Mass each week and think about you, and sending you not only my prayers, but my strength. The extra part that I don't use every day goes to you all so that you can use it. I'm lucky I get to live here, so there's some I don't need because I share it with because other people bond together. You need it, so it goes to you.
Well, thank you all so much. I think that's a really beautiful closing. So thank you.
Give a love to your families. Polina, if you need me when you're here, you call me, okay? Or Facebook. You're on Facebook with me, so
yeah. Thank you.
something. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's